All right, let's talk about planning for retirement as a couple. A lot of people think it's just about doubling whatever number you came up with for yourself. But it's really not that simple. It's more like a team sport, right? It's got its own set of rules, its own strategies, and getting them right, well, that can totally make or break your financial future together. So let's dive right in. So, let me ask you a question. How in sync are you really with your partner about retirement? I mean, really, because a Fidelity study found something pretty staggering. Get this, 62% of couples, 62, don't agree on when they're actually going to retire. And that one single disagreement, man, it can unravel even the most carefully made plans. It's a huge deal. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about a plan for two. Then we'll get into your Social Security strategy. After that, we'll tackle closing the income gap, creating a predictable paycheck, and we'll wrap up with the teamwork advantage. Pretty straightforward. All right, section one, a plan for two. And this is all about the biggest risk that couples face. All the complexity of planning for two people really comes down to this one major risk, one that a lot of couples honestly just don't see coming. And that risk is called longevity risk. Now, this isn't just some fancy financial term. It's really simple. It's the very high chance that one of you is going to outlive the other, and not just by a little bit, but maybe by 10, 15, even 20 years. So what that means is your retirement savings, it doesn't just have to last for your lifetime. It has to last for this much, much longer joint lifespan. And if you think that sounds like a long shot, check this out. For an average couple who are both 65 years old right now, there is a 1 in 5 chance, a 20% chance, that one of them will live to be 95. Think about that. That's 30 years of retirement that your money needs to cover for at least one of you. 30 years. That's a long, long time. So, okay, how do you even begin to plan for that kind of longevity? Well, this brings us to section 2, your Social Security strategy. This is probably one of the most powerful tools in your toolbox. But here's the key. You can't think of it as two separate paychecks. It has to be a single, coordinated approach for your household. So there are a few really important concepts for couples that you just gotta know. First up, spousal benefits. This is great. It means the lower earning spouse might be able to get up to half of what the higher earner gets at their full retirement age. Then, and this one is absolutely crucial, there's survivor benefits. This means that when one of you passes away, the surviving spouse gets to keep the bigger of the two Social Security checks. That's a huge safety net. And finally, there's this weird rule called deemed filing. All it really means is that you can't pick and choose. When you file, the government basically assumes you're filing for every benefit you're eligible for. And this is why that whole mindset shift is just so important. I mean, look at this. When you plan separately, you're operating in two different silos. You're making two separate decisions, you're probably leaving a ton of money on the table, and you're putting the surviving spouse in a really vulnerable spot. But when you plan together, well, now you're creating one strategy for the whole household. You're trying to get the absolute most income you can over your lifetimes, and you're making sure whoever lives longer is protected. It's a completely different ballgame. Okay, now this table really lays it all out. Seriously, this is probably the most important decision you'll make as a couple for Social Security. Let's focus on the higher earner. If they decide to grab that check early at 62, boom, their benefit is permanently cut. And more importantly, the potential benefit for the surviving spouse is capped at that lower amount forever. But look at the other side. If they can just wait until age 70, their own benefit gets a massive boost. But the real magic is that huge benefit becomes the new income floor for their partner if they're left alone. It's a massive, massive difference. And hey, it's not just me saying this. The experts all agree. T. Rowe Price puts it really well. Generally, the higher earning spouse should delay claiming until age 70. This aids the household by ensuring that the surviving spouse can receive the largest possible benefit. The best way to think about it is that you're not just delaying for yourself. You're basically buying a bigger, inflation-protected insurance policy for your partner, just in case. Okay, Social Security is the bedrock, it's the foundation, but it's definitely not the whole picture. So now we need to talk about something called the income gap. This is what a lot of couples, well, they just forget about it. It's that scary difference between the money you think you'll need and what retirement is actually going to cost. So I want you and your partner to pause for a second and just ask yourselves this question. Seriously, how much money per month do you think you'll really need to live on? And I can almost guarantee you it's a lot more than just taking your current paycheck and subtracting what you're saving for retirement. It's way more complicated than that. And here's why. There are these four big, kind of hidden costs of retirement that can just sneak up on you and create that income gap. First, there's healthcare. I mean, even with Medicare, your costs are likely going to go up, and probably faster than everything else. Then there's the silent killer, inflation. Over a 30-year retirement, it will just eat away at what your dollars can buy. Then, oh boy, taxes. You know how taxes come right out of your paycheck now? Well, that doesn't happen with your 401k withdrawals unless you set it up, and that can be a really painful surprise. And of course, there's the stock market roller coaster, which can take a big bite out of your savings right when you need it most. Any one of these is tough, but all four together, they can blow a huge hole in your plan.
Okay, so that sounds a little scary, I know. So how do you fight back? How do you bridge that gap? Well, that brings us to our next section, creating a predictable paycheck. It's all about combining your different income sources, taking all those separate puzzle pieces, and finally clicking them together to see the big picture.
Your retirement paycheck, ideally, isn't going to come from just one place. Think of it more like a recipe. You've got your Social Security, which we've talked about. You've got the money you'll take out of your 401ks and IRAs. If you're lucky enough to have a pension, that's another key ingredient. And you might even have some guaranteed income products, like annuities, that create a really solid foundation. The secret, again, is making them all work together, not just treating them like separate accounts. So here's a really simple way to think about it. It's a 3-step strategy. Step 1 is to cover your needs. You know, the mortgage, the groceries, the healthcare, all the must-haves. You want to pay for those with your most reliable, guaranteed income, like Social Security or a pension. Okay, step 2 is for your wants. This is the fun stuff. Travel, hobbies, spoiling the grandkids. That's what your investment portfolio, your 401ks are for. And then step 3, and this is the foundation for the whole thing, is to always make sure the plan is set up to protect the surviving spouse. And that leads us right into our final section, which honestly might be the most important one of all, the teamwork advantage. Because you can have the most brilliant spreadsheets and financial plans in the world, but if you're not on the same page, if you don't have that teamwork, it's just not going to work. And just look at the difference here. I mean, this says it all. When you go it alone, what do you get? You get mismatched expectations. You get strategies that are actually working against each other. You get arguments about money, that financial friction. But when you plan as a team, you get aligned goals. You get an income plan that's actually optimized. And you get a retirement that is way more satisfying and way less stressful for both of you. But here's the crazy thing. This data from Thrivent shows that this is a huge common trap. Fewer than half of Americans are actually on the same page with their partner about money, sharing priorities, making decisions together. Think about that. Most couples aren't doing this. This isn't just a small mistake. It's putting your entire future together at risk. But the good news is you can start changing that like tonight. Sit down with your partner and just use these as conversation starters. What's our real target retirement date? Not just mine, not just yours, but ours. What do we actually want our day-to-day lifestyle to look like? Are we thinking about working part-time? And the big one, how are we going to work as a team on this stuff from now on? You know, when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to this single, simple question. Are your retirement dreams aligned? And I don't just mean the numbers on a spreadsheet. I mean your actual dreams for your life, your hopes, your goals. Getting an honest answer to that question, that's the real first step to building a future that makes you both happy. And to help you actually apply all these strategies and, get those important conversations started, we've put together a completely free guide for you. Just download it and it'll help you take that next critical step in building your shared financial future together.